Now that our profile is optimized, it's time to shift our focus to one of the greatest assets that you have on your Pinterest account, and that is your boards. Pinterest boards will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to SEO. So setting up your boards correctly or going back and optimizing your existing boards will help your pins get better distribution within the algorithm in the long run. The way to decide how many boards you'll need on your account is to reverse engineer your pinning strategy. So the process taught in this video is based on the pinning strategy taught in my course, Scheduling Shortcuts. For this strategy, we want to have at least 5 boards to save a single pin to. So with that being said, let's start planning out your boards. If you are starting a new account or you're optimizing an existing account, I recommend having at least 5 boards per category or topic that is written about or covered on the website. So if you cover multiple topics, that means multiple keywords and at least 5 boards per main keyword. First, we'll need to select our board titles. For board titles, you'll want a mix of broad and niche titles, but I've noticed that boards with shorter titles tend to perform better. To simplify this process, you can use the Board Planner tab inside of the Keyword Research Planning spreadsheet. This is the place where I like to brain dump all my ideas for board titles, and it keeps it very organized for me and for my clients. So let's take a look at my example account where I blog about vegetarian recipes. On the Board Planner, start by adding your main keyword or category in the blue box. And then your list of board titles will go underneath that main category. First off, you always want to create a board with the main keyword as the title to start. So my first board is going to be vegetarian recipes. For the rest of the boards, you'll want to use level 1 keywords as your board titles. When choosing which level ones to use, you'll need to consider how much content you actually have for that keyword. For example, if I only have 2 breakfast recipes on my blog, I'll probably want to wait on making the vegetarian recipes breakfast board for a little bit, at least until I have more breakfast content. And instead, in the time being, I'll choose a more broad level one where more of my content can live and it will still make sense. You can always add more boards as your account grows. You can now have up to 2,000 boards on your Pinterest account, though I honestly have no idea why anyone would need that many boards. So let's say I do have a ton of recipes that can be dinner recipes, so I'll definitely want to use vegetarian recipes dinner. But since that doesn't sound very natural, I'm going to title my board Vegetarian Dinner Recipes instead. It's perfectly fine to rearrange the words within your keywords and your key phrases. The Pinterest algorithm has gotten much smarter over the years, so the order of the words does not matter. And you can see examples of this when you search for the level 1 keyword and toggle the search filter to boards. You'll see here that the top result is vegetarian dinner recipes, and in fact, none of the top results are the exact order of that original keyword, vegetarian recipes dinner. So feel free to switch up the order of your keywords to make them sound more natural. And you can always do a quick search to see what the top boards are titled just to validate your title ideas. For my other boards, I'll do healthy vegetarian recipes, easy vegetarian recipes, and meatless dinners. If this was the only category on my blog, I would probably want to add at least 10 boards to this list. But just for the sake of example, we're going to stick to 5. Repeat this same process for each main topic or category that you cover according to the keywords. So if I had blog posts on homesteading, I would add homesteading in the blue box and then add the board titles for that category here. Once you have your board titles planned out, it's time to create your first board. Hop over to your profile, and at the time of this recording, because Pinterest changes things all the time, to create a new board, you'll click on this plus sign here and select board. Your first board is going to be your first main keyword. When I create a new board, I want it to be optimized fully before making it public to be indexed by the algorithm. So make sure you check the box, keep this board secret, and then select create. Pinterest will then give you the option to save some pins to your new board. These are the third-party pins that the algorithm thinks are most relevant to your main keyword. So you want to go through and save at least 30 of these suggested pins to your new board. I like to save mostly static pins, though I will save a few video pins here and there if they're high ranking. But for the most part, you want to select regular static pins, and I would avoid saving any story pins altogether during this optimization phase, though I don't see any here being suggested to me, but you will see them later on. Adding these pins is the first step in helping Pinterest understand what the content on this board is going to be about. This helps us send the right signals to Pinterest about our pins when we eventually save them to this board. It will tell Pinterest that our pins are directly related to these top ranking pins, increasing the chances that it will be shown to users who have shown an interest in these pins in the past. Once you have at least 30 pins saved, go ahead and select Done, and it's time to write an optimized board description. Most of your board titles are going to be level 1 keywords, and for those, we're going to use as many of the secondary keywords underneath the level 1 keyword for that board description. But for your main keyword board, your first board, you'll want to use the level 1 keywords and the secondary keywords that rank the highest on your list. So that's why I wanted you to keep those top suggested keywords at the top of your list. You have 500 characters to use for your board description. So let's open up our character counter again. And to make this process quick and easy, I like to use a board description template, and I'll leave a copy of it below this video so you can use it on your board descriptions if you'd like to. And I like to mention the board title at least twice in the description, usually at the beginning and at the end. And I like to use this template as a loose guide, so feel free to change the wording so that it makes sense for your level 1 and secondary keywords. Since we're trying to add in as many of these keywords as possible, your board description will probably end up sounding like a list of keywords, and that's totally fine. Just format it so that it is like a real sentence. So my board description that I came up for this first board is, this board is all about vegetarian recipes and meatless dinners that are easy to make. Here we gather the best healthy vegetarian recipes for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and appetizers for parties. Learn how to make crock-pot and Instapot main dishes, low-carb morning snacks, quick and easy make-ahead dinners, and healthy protein options for kids to help you explore meatless meals and slow cooker recipes kids will love. And then at the end of the board description, I like to include the board title and your website URL. This is totally optional, and I generally just do this for branding purposes. So once you're close to 500 characters, copy your description and head back over to your board. And to edit a board at the time of this recording, you have to click on these 3 little dots next to the title and select Edit Board. Then go ahead and paste your description and uncheck the Keep This Board Secret option and select Done. Now it's time to start building up the board. So far, we added at least 30 high-ranking third-party pins to our board. But all of these pins are repins, and we know that the new Pinterest algorithm likes fresh content. So we need to add some fresh third-party pins to the board before we ever add our own content. To add fresh third-party content, we'll need to add the Pinterest browser button to our browser. And I always use Chrome in my tutorials and for all of my client work, so I'll get the Pinterest Save button for Chrome installed here. And to find more related high-ranking pins, click on the More Ideas tab and click through the website of the first pin that you see that would make a good fit for your board. Once you're on the website, you can click on the Pinterest browser button and select an image to save. Now, for some reason, the browser extension was not recognizing my board, but if I hover over the image, I can see my vegetarian recipes board. So I'll just hit save from there and it'll save it to the board. But if you use Tailwind, you can add the Tailwind browser extension to your browser and schedule out those pins slowly to build up the board over time. And I'll create a Tailwind account really quick just to show you how to do that. It's really easy to set up. You just connect your Pinterest account and then install the browser extension. Once the browser extension is installed, now you'll see that when you click through to a website and hover over an image, you'll see this schedule button added. So what I do is I click on the schedule button and that will cause a window to pop up, and I just close that window. I don't even wait for it to load, and I'll show you why in a second. I'll click through a few more high-ranking pins and hit schedule on the images of those websites. And if you come across an image that does not have the schedule button, you can go to your Tailwind extension, and if you don't see it, just click on this little puzzle icon and select the push pin icon next to Tailwind so that it turns blue, and that will pin it to your extensions menu. So once I see it, I'll click on the Tailwind icon, and Tailwind will show me a selection of images that I can save from that website. So once I have a few images gathered, I'll go over to Tailwind and click on Drafts, and that will pull up all the images that we just collected. From there, you can click on Add Board to All and select the board that you're working on that you want to add these pins to. So I prefer adding third-party pins to my new boards using the Tailwind extension because now I can add the board title to the title and description of these pins to help further optimize the board for my keyword. I also prefer using Tailwind for this so that I can continue building up the board while spreading out my pinning activity. So let me show you. Once you hit schedule all drafts, that will automatically add them to the empty slots on your schedule. And you can drag and drop these pins to spread them out over several days. Once I have the pins where I want them, I go ahead and lock them in place. One of the most common causes of accounts, especially new accounts, getting mistakenly marked as spam is what is referred to as a spike in activity. Now, we don't have a clear definition of what a spike in activity actually is, so my mentality is that it's always a good idea to spread out any activity that you're doing on Pinterest using a scheduler when you can. Repeat this process for the rest of the boards on your list. I like to play it safe and create new boards slowly, especially on a new account, to avoid that spike in activity. So I like to make one new board per day. Once all of your boards are created, you can go into Tailwind and create a board list that matches your board planner spreadsheet. That way, when you have a pin that fits within that category or topic, you won't have to think about which boards to pin to because you did all this hard work up front. Followers are not super important to your overall success on Pinterest, but we do want to associate our account with other accounts that are ranking under our most important keywords during this optimization phase. So after I create a new board, I'll do a quick search for the board title. I'll toggle the search dropdown to people and follow between 5 and 10 accounts under that keyword. You definitely want to do any type of following very slowly, so I don't recommend following more than 10 accounts per day. In the next lesson, we're going to work on the final piece of the Pinterest SEO puzzle, your actual pins. You'll learn how to create pins that are optimized to rank in search results using keywords and a new type of SEO I specifically created for Pinterest called visual SEO.